Welcome to Fans International. We've got a packed house today. We've got Arxonta, we've got Nick and Panathafan. Welcome, boys. We've got Australia and London on the call. Welcome, boys. How are we all going?
Good, good.
Excellent.
Sporting weekends as far as I go, as far as it goes for me, I've seen better, but keen to talk all things Panathinaikos with you guys.
Panathafan?
No, it's same. I think I need more of a fix of Panathinaiko, and I think today's pod's just that.
And Arxonta?
A little bit disappointed, just with how things kind of obviously went with the FC this year, and obviously how we did in the Final Four. But we'll get into more of that later. But apart from that, not too bad. Yeah.
I think with the way all my football teams went, I'm glad the season's over for all of them. So let's kick things off. Um, Now, there's been a lot in the media lately, so I'll give you a timeline. It was a couple of weeks ago, I believe, where there was speculation about Rui Vitoria. He had a sit down with um, Papatzim and Foz. Didn't seem something that was too confident or too reassuring, but they all came out essentially of the meeting and they announced that Rui Vitoria will be staying on. He will be the coach, but that hasn't really stopped at all what's being fueled in the media. I won't really say it's happening too much in the more mainstream media. You see a lot of push in these smaller fan-based news sources about Lucescu is a target of Panathinaikos. You're constantly seeing it. Um, Panathinaikos is close to signing Lucescu. Lucescu has had a falling out with Savinis and he'll be leaving. And it's even filtered through to the Romanian media. Now, a lot of these smaller fan sports accounts are quite biased. If you read certain accounts, they seem to be quite biased. They're pushing their own narratives. You can almost say they're getting some filtered news or something, someone, to help spread stuff. What we do know is that Lucescu is a prime target for Papatzim. I don't think anyone can disagree there with that. So I think, boys, let's discuss this because at the moment, this is all the rage and debate at the moment of what's happening in the FC. So while the basketball was the EuroLeague stuff and obviously player signings, we're not even here talking about really player signings. We're here talking about whether the coach that we said was going to stay on is actually going to stay on. What are we? What are your thoughts on what's been happening, what's being played out in the social media world?
I
I
think
personally, I think a lot of it is stemmed from bored people trying to create news. Obviously, we know Lucescu did have a falling out with Savidis, and Lucescu was rumored as well. I think it was a couple months back, with us. So I think a lot of it is fake stuff, to be honest. Um, Obviously, Rui, he had a sit down, as you said, Sturge, with Fuz, I believe. And I think it was pointing that he was going to stay, but obviously hearing this is a bit unsettling to me because I personally want him to stay. We need some continuity. It's about time. We can't just like keep going from manager to manager. We need some stability. And I think what we did see from Rui, especially early on, was a lot of positive things. And I think he got the best out of the players. Um, and look, if you bring in Lucescu and let Rui go, I mean, you've got to think about multiple things here. This guy has been like saying a lot of bad things about us as a club and stuff, and been throwing us under the bus a lot. And how are the fans going to react? I won't react well personally. I think he's a scumbag, to be completely honest, and I just don't see how anyone will be behind him or back him. The fans actually, even though not many obviously turn up to the games, they actually like Rui collectively. I'd say I like him. I think he's done some good stuff, and he's trying to create a positive energy. So if you bring in a guy who's been constantly flaming us as a club, getting in our faces when we play PAOK, every time we play PAOK, we're always like, oh, and stuff about Lucescu. And if you bring him in, I just don't see how that positive culture is really going to be established. So I'm fully against it. And to be honest, I don't think the rumors are fully true because, as you said, we've not seen it on any mainstream media. If we do, okay, different story, but I'm fully against it personally.
Nick, Panathafan?
All right. Well, for me, it's annoying and it's so frustrating because we had earlier, as you said, with the timeline, we had allegedly the confirmation that Victoria is staying on as our coach. The club came out, and the club since then issued another statement to confirm that he is our coach and they back him, etc., etc. And I'm inclined to believe it, not because I believe the club, but because eventually PAOK have done the same with Lucescu from their end. If it's both clubs saying it, I'm inclined to believe it. However, it comes with an asterisk, a caveat for now. This feels like it's a stay of execution, and we're going to sack you the first chance we get, whether it's September, October, November, the New Year's, season's end, whenever. The first chance we get, we're going to sack you. This is Papatzim obviously thinking. I'm going to try and go all out to bring my man in. Anything to keep himself relevant. And look, as I said, it's not happening now in my eyes, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And not so much for Lucescu himself, more so for the safety, the job security of Rui Vitoria. That's what scares me more than anything. And definitely Arxonta's right. I mean, why we need the continuity of a proper coach. He showed the green shoots. He showed what he's capable of, and we do have to back him. We can't keep going around in circles. The club is lost. Where the CEO talk. What happened to the CEO? Papatzim is horribly out of his depth. We've discussed him at length. He's an imposter. He's stealing a living. This season, if he stays on as a full season, he's going to surpass Jovanovic for his length, his tenure at Panathinaikos. Zavella, okay, you could say he's fulfilling his job description, and it's still early doors for Fisas. And then you've got Alafuzos that oversees all this. It's scary. I don't like the direction we're heading in.
I want to approach it from a different angle. And I think that I have said it many a time, and I'll say it again. Rui, I'm a fan of, and he should stay. And Arxonta has summed up all the reasons for that very well, so I'm not going to repeat that. I think with the rumours, I'll look at it from the point of view that Victoria was not Papatzim's choice. You may recall the press conference when he's announced, Papatzim did not look very happy at all. Papatzim has been demonstrating he's got a fetish, an obsession with PAOK or anything associated with PAOK, and I think most people would conclude that he's the one pushing hard for Lucescu for his own reasons. We all know that Rui at the end of the season has come out and said that a number of things need to improve with the club off field, as well as focusing on players. So he's made his statement without naming anyone. So clearly it all points to the fact that Alafuzo is the one that's choosing to keep Rui, and I'll at least give him credit on something, that he didn't just follow Papatzim and blindly take his advice to sack Rui. He's kept him. Maybe it's purely financials. He didn't want to pay him compensation. Don't know. But right now, I think that Papatzim potentially, and let's say potentially, because there's no proof of this, could well be doing his bit if all these websites or sporting reporting organisations that aren't aligned to the club that he may be feeding information to. There's a lot of speculation here. Right now, certainly the club's not unified. The club doesn't have a single vision or approach here. It's every man for himself, and I think it's playing out some of these rumours.
Yeah, you guys have covered it well. There's a lot to take in from this. And you're right, Panathafan. It's speculation on who is doing the media leaks. It does look fairly certain it's coming from an individual, potentially a TD. I can't obviously say for sure that it is him, but kind of seeing the same sort of leaks that led to Mete, not, us missing out on Mete with all these leaks that happen. It sounds like same person essentially doing these leaks. So it's quite frustrating. It's also quite frustrating that I haven't really seen our club as of recent come out and say Rui is our coach. We've seen Bulk say Lucescu is our coach. We haven't really seen anyone come out to say stop the noise, whatever. Rui is our coach. He's going to be our coach come match day one. So
They did initially that talk initially
yeah,
before all this.
yeah, before all of this, but nothing in that 2 week gap where it's just been rife. I think it's the talk is getting more out of hand at the moment online, what you're seeing in socials. So, and you're talking about, let's talk about the character of Lucescu.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
guy who's probably more suited for bulk, giving his personality. He's a scrap, he's a fighter, whatever. But we've seen historically, we've had bad blood with this guy through Yova, the Greek Cups, everything like that. There's just bad blood. There's nothing positive that we can honestly say about this guy, especially with what he's said about our club, Jovanovic, etc. When Jovanovic never really had a problem with him. So you understand the kind of person he is already. Do we want that in our club? Someone that has talked like that? No. So it's a big no from me, a red flag. And then out of all of this, you're looking at the two most despised people. Potentially, Vardino Yanis might be even more despised than Fuz and Papatzim, but the two most despised people are continuing to make ill-fated choices. Things that, instead of looking at, all right, what can we do that's going to be the right decision for the club and that's going to please the fans? Instead, they're just going about what's going to piss off the fans. It's kind of that's what I'm thinking every day with their transfer targets, their how they act in terms of on the field behavior from Papadim. Then it's you got also just the media leaks, everything like that. It's like the two most inept people are the two most secured people in their roles. Obviously, Vuz with the ownership of the club, but Papadim, who has been a specialist in failure, player retention, coach sackings, undermining player contracts. We saw Vayanidis frozen out because of the contract talks, only for him to come back essentially under Rui and absolutely have a killer second half of the season. We've seen plenty of bad things happen under the Papadim guidance, but somehow in no media source, no media story has there been a time that his job is under threat. So we're talking about Rui. Rui's job is not secure, but the guy that's been making all the bad choices, everything that's wrong with the club, has his position the most secure. It's just baffling how we've got into this situation.
So true. I mean, it's just like at some point, I think I almost feel like this is Alafouzos' ego getting in the way. I think he deep down does know that Papa Jim has to go, but he's holding on to him because he knows he's made a bad decision and he wants to try back himself and back his boy. But at some point, you've got to look at. I think if we sum up every transfer in the last 2 years, what percentage of them would we say has failed? It's probably going to be really high, right? And
At
coaches, I mean,
least 80%.
yeah,
At least.
this guy picked Alonso, who I've been watching football for 12
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
13 years, and he is single-handedly, tactically wise, the worst coach I have ever seen. And it's almost like, as you said, Serge, it's like they're trying to sabotage us this way. It's really scary to think that two people who have such a big influence on the club in Alafouzos and Papathimitriou are actually still having their job and influencing. I really do think they are actually going to boot Rui out. I have a feeling that's what they're going to do. And I have a feeling they're going to do something crazy like bringing in Lucescu in, which would just make things 10 times worse. And, the problem is every time you bring in a new coach, the previous coach has made signings that he likes for his system, right? And then it's the whole cycle again. Another coach will come in, make players, get players that he likes, and then he'll be sacked after a few months. It's just, this is so unsustainable. And I feel like we're destined to have a similar season to what we've seen a few years ago, finishing like 5th, 6th, or something like this. I feel like it's just an accident waiting to happen. And we've said it for ages, it needs to stop. But if the question is, when will it? Will it? It's just a joke. And I honestly honestly, ridiculous.
Alonso is head and shoulders number one. He's had a lot of fuck ups.
Oh, he was so bad.
Daylight first.
So in terms of him being at risk or not at risk, it's probably one thing that I think about, and that is in workplaces around the world. And I'm sure you boys have either seen it yourselves or heard about it. You got people who are very good at their job and they just go about it quietly and do their thing. And then there's others who aren't good at their job, but they're smart enough to work out that they become close to their boss and suck up to them and or say all the right things to stroke the boss's ego, they retain their employment. Now, I'm not saying this is happening here, but you can clearly see that there's potential for someone like Papatzim becoming close with the boss and having a very strong relationship where then performance doesn't really factor into whether they retain their job or not.
He
Not
does a
saying
mean
it's happening,
Excel
but it's a
spreadsheet.
possibility.
A mean Excel spreadsheet.
Well, that's maybe Alafouzos's got a penchant for spreadsheets and he's showing off his spreadsheet skills and showing his list of players he's going to bring in the summer off the back of that spreadsheet, and that's what keeps him in the job, right? And this is the thing that for us as fans, and I'm sure many, many others as well that follow Panathinaikos, see fundamental parts of his job being coach management and signings, player transfers, both in and out, and budget management. And I'll come back to budgets in a moment. We all see that and go, the guy's failed. The guy has failed in every one of those categories in terms of satisfactory performance. But maybe he's not getting judged on that criteria. For us, we see those criteria. Maybe for him and between him and Alafouzos, his criteria is something completely different.
What has he done though that is a positive? Can you name one positive? I can't.
Well, he may well, and I'm just making it up, right? But he may well say that signing a player like Dete is a success, and that's him because he's the one that found the player. Or he may turn around and say that another signing like Belistri, or he may say
That was Alonso, yeah.
That was Alonso.
Well, he still may claim it, right? He may say that he was part of negotiations, or he may say that if they sell Vayanidi for 14 million, he's the one that gets the credit for that.
But he fucked up his contract.
But this is the thing: if you control the information that your boss gets, and you give them information that suits your position, then that person will believe you if they trust in you.
Yeah, he hires the wrong people repeatedly. 13 years of his reign, constant. When was the last good TD we had? Remember Xavi Roca, Driossi, they were bust. Then we had during the Stramaccioni era, that was a bust. The Bizas was
the closest that comes to it.
The only one.
And that's without a budget either. So
yeah. Youth. That was largely youth.
So the part that I probably struggle with the most when it comes to failure, and that is the financial fair play or cost control, where we have to sell a player this year in order not to be further punished by UEFA because we managed our finances so poorly last season. And now, who else could be responsible for that? And we as fans who don't live and breathe football club management know that you got to have a certain amount of revenue versus expenses to meet the cost control requirements. We know that. How could these guys actually spend the money and not know that?
Yeah.
And as a TD, he has to be definitely partly at least responsible for that. Now, the part that astounds me is that this is actually costing money to Alafuso. And if I know what most people who have money would say, and I'd be in the same boat, so it's not criticism. If you're going to cost me $500,000 to $1 million because you missed management, that's instant dismissal. Not a warning. That's dismissal.
If it was Sky TV, he would sack him.
So that's the part I
go back to what Sterg was saying in Arxonta, the sabotage from within, deliberate sabotage.
So then the other thing becomes, is Lucescu a very welcome decoy? Is a distraction from the core issues of the club? Or is it an attempt to shut up Victoria from bringing to light all the issues that he thinks the club's got?
That could be that last point you just said, that could be very true. Because, I mean, if we think back to Terim as well, he also was saying similar things and wanted to say them. But as you say, Panathafan, that's a very good point, because they may want to shut him up because he's obviously mentioned off-field issues, and it's so clear that he is frustrated. So, yeah, I think that's a very valid point.
And if that is true, and I think for me it's quite possible, then it's even more reason that Victoria has to say, because it's beyond just what we do on a pitch. It's about changing the club for the better on a number of fronts. So, you know, I was a fan of Rui before, but now I think absolutely nothing has to get in the way of what he's trying to do. But let's see. This is all just assumptions on our part. It could be completely different.
You made a good point with the PSR, the cost controls and all that. Like, it's not even our jobs, and we can do a better job than these guys. From a year ago, I remember saying you don't need to sign Tete and Pelistri for 12 million combined when they both cover the one position and you're neglecting the other deficiencies in the squad. They neglected it. Now here we are. Maybe they gambled. Who knows? Maybe they gambled getting the Panathafan, UCL, whatever. Maybe it was a calculated gamble and it's backfired. I doubt it because they're that incompetent, but maybe. But now we're going to pay the price for it because we're going to get onto the rumours and that, but it looks like one of Vayanidis or Ioannidis are gone, question mark on Tete. And then the names so far, not that there's been many names, but the list isn't that inspiring. And there's the whole Unai saga as well that's still dragging on in the background. That's going to lurk on. That might even go into August. I know the club wanted to wrap that up early. We might be best off just waiting and getting another loan.
Yeah. But I think Actually, no. I'll save the speculation for our speculation or transfer discussion.
Let's quickly now move to our next topic. We've got confirmed Champions League unseeding. So, while it looked like Switzerland was going to be the one to keep an eye out on, so that did the job for us, managed to equal the result of, was it Young Boy?
Young boys.
But out of nowhere, when you look at Austria, when Austria Wien was in the driving seat for the Champions League qualification, choked on their final match day, and allowed Salzburg to get that important Champions League spot for them. So we will be unseeded. Now the seeded teams that we could verse or will verse would be either Rangers, Salzburg, Victoria Plzen. Don't know how you pronounce it, but that the Czech team. Now
Is that the second round?
that is the
Yeah.
second round. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Now
Those are all
Major underdogs
nightmare.
in
No
all
way.
three.
Yeah,
Yeah.
huge underdogs.
I'm not too worried, as in, like, yeah, we'll probably go in underdogs, rightfully so, with what the seeding versus unseeded is, but I don't think these teams are really teams that to be worried about compared to what's potentially waiting in the third round should we progress. These teams are very beatable. We do have historically good form versus Scottish teams.
Rangers are a mess right now too. It's probably worth saying they finished like us with Olympiacos. They finished way behind Celtic. They'd still be licking their lips facing us, especially in our current state.
And even in the Austrian league, Salzburg is pretty sizable name, but the Austrian league, from what I've seen, has been a mess. Apart from the team that finished first, the top team, everyone else is just constantly stumbling and stumbling. I don't think the Austrian league. It's going to be a hard game, but I don't think it's mission impossible. I think, you know, depending on the game, we can beat, we can progress. I won't say beat them, we can progress. And then even the Czech team, the,
That's the hardest one for me.
Really?
the
Yeah,
Czech,
I think so.
So I'd have Rangers as the hardest, and the Victoria Plzen as the second hardest.
I'd have Rangers as the easiest one, to be completely honest, because I think they're a bit of a mess right now, and I could see us beating Rangers. Victoria Plzen is like a better version of us.
But the Czech team came out of nowhere as well, out of like the Sparta Pragues and the Sparta Prahas and all that. The different Czech teams. I think they came out of nowhere to secure that final spot as well. It wasn't like they were in the driving seat for that spot either.
But they've got a recent pedigree in Europe that's better than ours. The Czech team.
Exactly.
So
does Rangers.
Yeah, and look at I think Sturge, you made a great point. We do well against Scottish teams, but Rangers I fear the most because they have been good in Europe. They're a mess at home, but in Europe they've been competitive. And if I recall correctly, Olympiacos played them in the Europa League in the season.
Wasn't it a draw?
Yeah, from memory, they were pretty competitive in Karaiskaki as well. So it certainly weren't easy.
They did a job on Olympiacos, 1-1, but they did their homework on them and completely shut them down. They beat Fener over 2 legs. They might have even won away as well.
And both of these are going to, all three of these were going to be massive underdogs in my opinion. And
the other thing though, it's not the fact that we're underdogs. It's what we discussed, the preparation, the circus we are is contributing to our pessimism here.
We may not even know who our manager is going to be for that first game.
That says it all.
We may not. I honestly don't know what the team's going to look like.
And obviously we'll do a once the time comes when the season begins. But looking at the Czech team, our squad values double theirs, for instance. Looks like they've got two really good players, both in the attacking position, and that's it. Everyone else really seems mediocre. Between them two, they're pretty much half the squad value.
But then we also played against that Vikinga, was it called? And our squad value was like triple theirs, and we also lost one of those games and just and just eked our way to beat them. We also lost to Jagraden, tied with Borak, was it called? So to be honest, like squad value, I get the argument, but we've seen it so much now where we've lost to teams that we should be beating or are more valued than. And all these teams, Salzburg's obviously a big name. Victoria Pleasant and Rangers have been playing strong in Europe recently. I'm pretty sure Pleasant was even in the Champions League a couple of years ago or something. So for all of them, it's going to be really, really hard, to be honest. And with the uncertainty around us, I just don't know.
My counter argument is we had a preseason under Alonso. We had that disruption of Alonso there as well. So I think we're worse than what we could have been, essentially, if we had maybe a proper coach that had a full preseason, which is why we need, obviously, my argument for with Rui staying on. You have a proper coaching that will have a good preseason, and then we prepare. I think our European matches, I think, will be in slightly better form, depending on the player personnel as well, and depends which competition we're in. I think we'll be we'll be better prepared, essentially. I think last season.
I think you're right, especially if Alonso stays on. Sorry, Victoria, fucking Alonso still haunts us. Victoria, yeah. And what I was going to say, it is worth noting, if we do beat any of these three seeded sides, I believe for all three to plays, we take their seeding. We take their ranking, yeah. And then there's a major opportunity to make the UCL playoff round.
My question is, because one of you will probably know this, if we win against one of these teams, what are the available teams next round? And if we lose against one of these teams, who do we play after that? Because you got to think about both sides,
I don't know the answer to the last part of your question. That's what I tried looking up today. The third round Europa League, that's where PAOK enters. Now, we can't face PAOK, obviously, but I know if we win, I know some potential opponents like Braga, for example. Yeah. Feyenoord. Yeah, we're up. As Sturge said it before, they're beasts. Forget it.
Yeah,
those. The other part of your question, if we do win this second round, we've guaranteed Europa League phase.
Only Rangers is the seeded out of these teams in the next round. Salzburg and the Czech team are not seeded.
Okay, so it's only Rangers. If we take their seeding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just remember that Victoria Pilsen, the Czech team, played PAOK last year in Europa League, and they drew 2-2. And the Czech team were actually 2-0 up before they got a red card. That was in Tumba.
I do recall that. I think that was like the must win for PAOK. I think they really choked that one. I think PAOK was strong favourites as well that game.
Yep, that's right. Now that you say that, I think you're right.
Even Manchester United beat them, so I'm not worried. Manchester United got an away win versus them, so I don't think I'm too worried. But
second round, no, third. Feyenoord, Benfica, and Nice enter in the third round.
Just quickly on Victoria Pleasant, though, they did play Lazio and they were very close to actually beating them. So I don't think this team is some joke either, if you know what I mean.
I'm not saying that these teams are jokes. What I'm saying is they're beatable.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
beat them. I don't think we're going into any kind of horror draw like Ajax. That was a horror draw. That was when we drew them. That was like the worst case scenario. I don't think
It feels like we always have that, like
Yeah.
Marseille the year
Yeah.
before.
don't think these three clubs are of that stature of that Ajax type for me.
Well, add Marseille, and I'd even add Lens as well. But
Oh
all
yeah,
three of those previous years' teams that we played in knockout rounds were stronger than the three that we should be facing.
Yeah. And that's probably the point I wanted to get in. So yeah, I don't think um too much of it at the moment. We'll know more once the draw comes out, like in June or something. I believe the draws for that.
That's
Um,
a that's a fair point, Nick. No, Sturge. Fair point.
let's now move on to the next point. Player departures. So we know for certain there was a few player announcements which have departed. Let's start with the confirmed name. So we saw Magnuson. I think there was quite a bit of not, I wouldn't say confusement, but I think because apparently he did come out and wanting to stay on with the club and he was happy to do a pay as you play type contract. We didn't obviously retain him. Ruben, I think that was quite the obvious one. Ruben was going to move on. He was at his end of his contract. He's aged. He's obviously had the big fallout with Papatzim. We won't, or hopefully he comes out in a media or some sort of interview that he does and speaks out on it. Bart Scheckenveld, I think that one we saw coming. I think he was just getting injury prone towards his latter stage of his time with us. You could say he gave it his all. Probably wasn't the best technical player, but he did play to his ability. And Zeka as well, which you knew he was with us as a sort of farewell, a thank you. But I believe the club have retained him some sort of role, I believe. I think Nick might know a little bit more. Um, Out of that, you've got three players there that have captained the club. You've also got Aral, who has been confirmed as well as another player departing. They're the confirmed players as of now. Um, there'll probably be a few more that will depart via sales. Um, those talks that Mladenovic is scheduled to sign a 1 year extension, which will be positive news. Um, and we'll also talk about we don't have any player incomings at the moment, but there's a couple of players that are speculated being looked at as well. And we'll talk about the transfer rumors, especially there's two players in mind. There's Forte and Vagiannidis, but there's a couple of other players as well we can talk about. There's a left back that plays in the MLS, Pedro Armando, I believe his name is, plays for Atlanta, 26-year-old. The rumor mill on him, courtesy of our American friends, is that quite a handy player, quite a good player in the MLS. Last season he got a fair few assists. This season hasn't really been getting too much luck. I don't think the team is as good as last season, which, his production has gone a bit down. Last season he did get quite a few assists, was up there, but now this season I don't believe he has any to his name as of yet. But apparently very good. Portuguese background, came from the sporting youth as a kid, played at Braga, so he's got some Portuguese experience. So I'm sure Rui would know him a little bit more than most of us, or be familiar with him. And the other one was Tsapras, the right back from Levitakos. That was another name that has been mentioned now a few times. So they're the two names to look out for. You see like many clubs being linked to Forti. We've seen through Italy, Bologna, Lazio. We've seen Sporting again. We've seen Celtic, Fiorentina. I've seen as all linked to 40. Um, I think there's going to be at least 5, 6 clubs that are going to be linked to him. He's probably lost a little bit of value from last season. Horror off season with the injury in Germany in the internationals didn't do him well. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of price tag we are gonna ask now. Obviously, we're looking at the 30 plus last season. Yeah, this season, I think we're still gonna be looking at that 20 million plus. The positive thing is we don't really need to sell him unless the PSR requirements are pushing us to sell him, because he did sign that extension contract as well. Obviously, we know Vianidis as well has gotten that fair few interest. He's going to be the one to look out for as well, in my opinion. And obviously, we approached Marseille about Unahi. That one, we went in with a low ball offer, but I don't mind that we went that low because I think Marseille has a bit of PSR issues themselves from what read. So offloading him may need to be a requirement from their end as well. Just reading into their stuff. So that's not too bad. Um, and I believe I saw Tete's name being thrown around as well in regards to the Saudis. Um, that would be definitely one to look out as well. Just if you look at his history, he hasn't really settled at a club for really more than a year and a half. So that's another name will be probably looking at as well.
He's had a horror last few months as well, if I'm going to be brutally honest. And Unai, to be honest, I really want him to stay. I think he's a great impact player. And to be honest, I think he was probably made a big difference when he come in, scoring a lot of sick goals, crucial goals. So I'd be absolutely gutted if we didn't get him done.
Nick, Panathafan?
On Tete, out of the three, if you add Vayanivi and Forty with Tete, Tete would be the one I'd sell if he had to force me to sell one, because we've got a ready-made replacement. You got Bellicity, that's like straight in, and where the depth gets weakened, that's it. Do you back Papa Dimitriou to find a replacement for 40 or replacement at right back for Vayanivis? I don't. Whereas we've got Bellicity there to cover the right wing.
Yeah.
Vianidis is the one out of the three, in my opinion, that's the most.
And Tete is the foreigner.
But that's the thing with Tete is I think he's a player that starts off hot. I think was it Leicester? Scored
Yeah.
on debut.
Oh, don't go there.
Does against Villa, I believe it was.
Yeah.
But I think he's a player that starts fast, and we saw that with us. He really came out of the gates flying. And then yeah, I think they just I don't know if it was fatigue or something, just regressed as the season went on. So let's see how that one works out as well. They're the ones really that I've seen in terms of players, and yeah, and it is quite disappointing that we've only been linked to 2 players of yet so far, two probably more solid names so far, considering that, and we'll talk about this soon, that the PAOBC season, Euroleague just finished. There's still got the Greek Championship games to come. That they've already pretty much done deal for 2 players, while FC the season finished a couple of weeks now. We don't even know who the coach is going to be. We've got a
we're
coach.
we're in a way worse position as well.
Yeah. We've got a contracted coach. We don't know if he's going to continue on. So it's just baffling to see. But it also shows where the state of FC and BC is as well.
I'd go another angle that AEK doesn't have a coach and they're signing players. already.
Yeah, and
That could be scary though. That might not be a good thing.
No, no, but
Stupid, in my opinion.
Yeah.
that they've clearly identified players already and gone down that path. And look, we've got a coach that supposedly he's staying on, and there's nothing happening. But for me, I'll take a different angle in terms of signings or transfers, and there's not a lot that is being rumored that's going to come in to us at this point, as you called out, Sturge. I'm more interested in seeing what's going to happen with the players that we want to exit. Max, Mancini, Lemieux, Nikas, Euromayev. Yeah, everyone's saying he's going to go. So there's a
You'd
number
sell
of like,
Nikas?
oh, he's done nothing.
Whatever you can get for him is a bonus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
The reality is he's done nothing. So it's good to have some homegrown talent. Or he's actually not a homegrown PAO player, but he's a Greek player. But yeah, he hasn't really done anything to say we should keep him. The other player that I think he's largely forgotten about, but will still be on our books as the loan comes to an end, is Villena. So
yeah,
that's
I
now,
had him.
yeah.
Get rid of him.
I had him in my mind, but
So it's interesting because I've actually been watching the results of Alanya Sport in the Turkish league, which I've never thought I'd ever be doing, purely to see if they're going to avoid relegation because it's down to the wire, and there's more of a chance they may well decide they want him if they were to stay up. And after results this weekend, it looks like they are staying up. They're not getting relegated. So it'll be interesting to see if they then want to exercise a buyout of him. So we shall see. But one other thing I'll probably say quickly is for those players that have left that you mentioned, Adal, Zeka, Schenkerfeld, and everyone else. There's a
Magnuson.
few, Magnuson, Ruben. There's a few fans who are quite upset that so many players are leaving. For me, I don't understand that. I mean, all of these players had come to an end with the club, whether it's retirement, injury, or they were just on the outer, like Ruben, and we knew that we weren't going to get a game again. The fact that we've said thanks for the memories, see you later. That's logical in my view, and I don't fault any of those players departing. As much as I criticise Papatzim, none of those players are the ones that we should have retained, in my view.
yeah, yeah. I'm just, just scouring just what the social stuff, but it looks like Bulk are making more of a claim that, yeah, Lucescu's going nowhere, essentially. So obviously it's going
Keep
to
him
be,
there. Keep him.
yeah, I think,
We are as far away as possible.
yeah, I think this probably hopefully will die out in a month or so. I think, we've got the Champions League soon to concentrate on. I think give it 2, 3 weeks, this story would hopefully fuck off from here. So like Lucescu can. Um, so let's have say about that. Let's change now direction. Let's change as well, sporting wise. Panathinaikos BC. Now, the Euroleague campaign did come to an end. We did get defeated by Fenerbahce in the final four, in that the for a place in the final. Now, we'll talk about the game. Wasn't wasn't obviously, a good performance in my opinion. Fenerbahce beat us 82-76. Arxonta, so I'm going to go straight to you. How did you see the game?
Not good, Sturge. From the opening tip, pretty much they got out straight to a 10-point lead. And I was watching it with my dad, and I always say how in EuroLeague games, because it's shorter and different to the NBA, not as fast. It's very important to have control of the game. And they had control of the whole game. Every time we cut the lead to like 2 or 3, I knew it was going to happen straight after. Fener would go back on a run, and it just kept happening. And towards the end of the third quarter, I knew there was absolutely no way, because we couldn't take the lead. We had no control, and every offensive possession, pretty much, we would be stagnant and only start making moves with like 6 seconds to go. The shot selection was so bad, honestly. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And in the first half, we only shot like 5 threes, which is a bit of a problem in the modern game, to be completely honest. I think if you're going to take a bad shot, at least possibly, see if you can get any room to take a three, because it can be a big momentum changer, or at least try and get to the line and, maybe draw a foul or something. But we couldn't. And it was an absolute horror show from start to end. And I think, we gave it a go. We showed that Panathinaikos spirit, keep fighting until it's over, and we tried. So credit to the boys. Massive shout out to Matthias Lesor, because he was really trying to keep us in it, and you could see he was not fully healthy, and just the fighting spirit of him is just absolutely admirable, to be completely honest. When you had 2 other centers who were fully healthy and playing like absolute frauds, which they are. And unfortunately, I think Slukas had a bit of an injury issue. He didn't really seem himself and stuff, and I think you can kind of see the age is really getting to him, which is why we've done what we've done, which we'll go into later. But we allowed Fener to have control of the game. None got into foul trouble. I mean, this has become a theme with him a lot lately, getting into foul trouble. We were just making a lot of rookie mistakes. Sloppy. Sorry, yeah.
Was it an offensive foul?
It was an offensive foul that ended it. Yeah, it was. And to kind of side quest, because he said something after about the refs, and obviously DPG did. And look, I'm going to be completely honest. As much as I love DPG, he's adored by the fans. Calling out the referees after every game, same with Nunn, it doesn't help. It makes things worse. Some people would think it would maybe push them to make bad decisions, but it doesn't. It just makes them hate us more. And to be completely honest, it's been showing all season long. So, unfortunately, the bigger picture is, from the opening tip, we got dominated. Fener showed they're a much deeper and a better team this year. And to be honest, last year I was very I was voicing my opinion a lot in the chat. I believe from a very early stage. After that Grigonis buzzer beater, I kind of felt that we were going to go all the way. You just could see it in the eyes of the players. But this year, we were leaving everything till too late. We would be going into every fourth quarter down, especially at home. Like, the amount of times we were like down 15 going into the fourth. Yes, we sometimes won, but it wasn't sustainable. We did not play well in that series against FS, who, in my opinion, are not as good as what we faced last year with Maccabi. That team was star-driven. And you see, the players that went there, they ended up being difference makers for them this year, and won the Euroleague title with Fener. And we did not play well in that FS series, to be completely honest. I mean, even in that game 5, we went up 30 points, and then they brought it back. We ended up winning, but it was a difficult season for us. I think Lesort's injury, unfortunately, the Lorenzo Brown signing didn't work. So there were lots of contributing factors. But I have full faith, and I mean full faith, in Ataman and Giannakopoulos to do the right thing, which they're already doing. And I'll say it now, on the 26th of May, 2025, Panathinaikos is winning the Euroleague next year, I'm sure. And we're going to get the 8-star, and Ollie will choke again in the Final Four, and we will win it next year, and Kendrick Nunn will be the Final Four MVP.
Yeah, looking at the game, Fenerbahce, you're right. From the tip off, you look at the stat sheet as well. The stat sheet is probably a true reflection of the game. I think 6 points is actually kind on us, considering
Very, very
turnovers that we did. Shooting percentage wasn't as great. Fenerbahce, were big on the boards, getting a lot of rebounds, especially offensive rebounds, creating those second chances. I think they were really killing us there. And the 3-pointers as well. Our wing defense was atrocious. The perimeter defense was atrocious. We allowed, I think they shot like over 40% at the with the three-pointers as well. Yeah, 41.2%. Even though we shot the same, they shot double what we did with 3-pointers as well.
It's exactly what I was saying. You got to sometimes take those shots because we've been proving that we can make them, and we were 41%, but we'd only scored two threes by halftime, both by Grant in the opening 3 minutes. So we just completely neglected the three ball after that.
The issue also was before Nunn getting fouled out, no one else was really scoring. Uh, Nunn was getting no assistance in terms of someone taking over the load in terms of scoring wise. He was by far the biggest, like in terms of our next player in terms of point scoring. It was only until he got fouled out, Osman stepped up, you know, and started scoring. They saw Kane big as well, drawing in many fouls. That's kind of his game. But there was no one, while none was playing, really easing that load. And it just shows how,
7 assists, 7 assists we had in the whole game. I'm pretty sure 7.
and it just shows where we are at the moment, or where we were. I think, yeah, well, we finished with 10 assists.
Well, it was 6 with a few minutes to go. That's something I remember. And
Yeah.
if you probably compare it to Fener's, it's probably lower. I'm assuming.
Yeah, they did doubled our offensive rebounds. It was just really, really poor overall. Like we shot better too, like field goals than them overall, but it was just the fact that they were getting the rebounds. That's what was killing us. So, look, I think Fener were obviously the worthy winners. They won overall, beating Monaco, who beat the serial chokers in the other Final Four game. Yeah, Andoni did say that number one seed is a curse spot. And once again, it just was the curse. I think, yeah, it's the first and probably the final time Final Four will be held in Abu Dhabi as well.
No, next year as well. They got a 2-year deal.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be there next year as well. I also the something that was playing on my mind, which I wasn't too happy about, um, and just something that I think the Final Four in Euroleague have got to do better is during that Panathinaikos Fenerbahce game, half the stadium was a sea of red.
Yeah.
We had very little fans, and there are some reasons for that because Ollie was also one of the first teams to get to the Final Four. They went 2-0 up. Fans are like, all right, I'm going to start buying tickets now. Whereas us, largely to our own fault, because to be honest, we should have beat FS in 3 or 4 games. If I'm being honest, I think if you put last year's team into this year's team, I think that's a sweep in my opinion. And we didn't have many fans, and it was pretty hard to listen to and watch the performance and listen to Olympiacos fans chanting "Putanazi Panathinaiki" and stuff. It was hard to listen to, and maybe that's something EuroLeague has to do better in terms of allocating a specific amount possibly to each fan base and probably not having a sea of red during our game. But
Yeah.
You know what, though? There were so many of them, but did you see the rules? Yesterday, we cleaned them up.
good.
Yeah. Look, that's a different conversation. But yeah, look, yeah, I think it just quite sucked that the game was held in Abu Dhabi, and we'll be there again. But yeah, I think we know from next season that we're gonna have a team that's gonna compete. Without Grigonis in this game, I think he's gonna be off as well to Zalgiris. That was something that was discussed a couple of months ago. But there was something that I heard in the rumor mill a couple of months ago, which we discussed on the pod. I did get it confirmed as well by the PAOBC president when he was here. Toliopoulos is a done deal. Um, so he will be joining from Aris. He's a massive 3-point threat. He not too sure about his defensive ability, but once he gets his hot hand, he can score. So that's a handy player to have, especially in the Greek league as well, when you don't have to rely on none overly, and just getting those minutes in Euroleague as well.
And it's also going to be important because, sorry to cut you off, but we're going to be facing a bit of a dilemma in the Greek basket finals because we have quite a lot of foreigners right now.
Yeah.
So one of them will kind of one or two will actually have to drop out, especially if I think we're going to definitely be without one of Gabriel or Yurt7. Thank gosh, I really don't know which one to pick. It's genuinely like picking from Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. I don't know.
I'd rather drop Yurt7. But and also the big one is, and this was a name that the PAOBC president wouldn't confirm with me because it's obviously a tough negotiation. Would be probably the player that really shunned this season in the EuroLeague. We can talk about Nunn and Flopikov, but another name that lifted his team was TJ Shorts. He's a massive scorer as well. He can just
playmaker.
He's a 3-point threat. He can really score, that guy. So there's an offer there. We increased the offer. There's interest from Memphis Grizzlies on a low contract. I think like the minimum. I think he wants to go NBA, but I don't think it's financially viable for him because in the NBA, those are the kind of players that get cut, waived first. I think there is a NBA clause in his contract that we've offered.
It's done. We've the deal is pretty much done. We're giving him 2.5 million euros a year. It's either going to be 2 or 3 years and no NBA out at least in the first year of his contract. So yeah.
And that's positive. So yeah, TJ Shorts is going to be a massive get. I think that kind of points to me that Lorenzo Brown is gone.
He's signing a deal with
Real Madrid.
with Crvena Zvezda.
Oh, okay. I was expecting Real Madrid because they were after him this season. So okay, yeah, I expect Lorenzo Brown to go, Grigonis to go, Yurt7. I'm saying a little bit of a sweep. There's talks about what's his name? Papagiannis as a big coming in.
I'd get rid of both Gabriel and Yurt7. Honestly, I can't watch them play. They're both so shit in different ways. Yurt7, he can sometimes score the ball, but Gabriel, this man can't do a screen without it being an offensive foul. This guy is like the lowest basketball IQ I've ever seen, ever. Like seriously, the guy. I wonder what goes on in his brain sometimes. And Yurt7, oh my goodness, turnover.
Yeah,
get them both off. Get them both off.
Very bad.
But Arxonta, what do you think of Papagiannis? I mean, he can be frustrating.
He's had a good season with Monaco. He's had a good, he's got his problems defensively, but he's another Greek. And to be honest, I'd prefer him than both Dumb and Dumber right here. So yeah. Get them off my team.
There's talks of Papagiannis. I read somewhere else now. I think this one's a no way because I think he still can offer a lot in the NBA. Was Valanciunas.
Oh no way. No, that's no way.
I don't see that one happening. I think that's just like a real Hail Mary. He's quality. I think he can offer a lot as well. He'd be a huge, big guy. But the other rumor, which I was told, now nothing concrete yet. I think this one's going to be obviously a little bit more harder to get over the line is Dante
I knew
Exum.
you were going to say that.
Yeah, current or Dallas Mavericks, but injured. I think his season was gone with the wrist injury or something. Um, has has been playing well in the NBA, so that's why I'm a bit shocked that we're in the running for him. I think he'd be obviously looking at a NBA contract, see if he can get one. But he's played in Euroleague and he's been amazing in Euroleague, whether it was for Partizan when he was just
Partizan, yeah.
Barcelona, I think, as well. Did he have a stint there? Or was it? I know it was Partizan where
It was there for a part because he got. I remember he was a big part of that team, which
they were
when he got
unlucky.
after he got body slammed by
Yeah.
freaking Yabusele. But I don't. If I'm being honest, I would love that. I think that would be an amazing signing, but I don't see that happening. I think that's a bit of a reach, to be completely honest. I think he will still um, play in the NBA for me. I don't see that one happening, but it would be great.
Yeah. I agree. I think that one's going to be a tougher one to get. I won't rule it out because obviously with what has been said, um, to me, but he'd be an excellent player because he's someone that can defend very well, um, and he can shoot as well. He's a bit of a threat from range as well. So he'd be a very very good player to have. And I think and it's going to probably lead into the next topic. I think what also links Panathinaikos with Dante Exum would be the Pavlos Giannakopoulos Tournament in Australia. He would be an excellent player to showcase in that tournament as well, especially from a Panathinaikos perspective. If they can get that deal done, um, that could be something that can draw the Australian crowd as well. Would be a good marketing decision there by Panathinaikos, especially if they get that deal over the line as well, and good brand awareness as well. Getting Dante Exum here, so that one's gonna be one to look out for to see. I think he stays NBA. I think a team will pick him up, but um, in the event no one does, I think I think we're gonna be a very strong chance to get him. Um, have you guys heard anything? Panathinaikos, there was a lot of talk about our young player who got more minutes today in the
Amadurov.
yes, yes, um, highly touted prospect. So um, he got a few minutes. I think the most that he's gotten, especially in a game like this, where
He
eight
finished in
points.
double digits, I think,
He
or
got
almost.
points, 8 points, yeah. I think he's going to be a star. He's going to be one to watch as well. They're taking real care of him, so I think we're going to see him gradually feature more and more from next season onwards as well. He's
Yeah.
a Greek international as well.
I wonder if they'll pick him for the Greek basket finals. Actually, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think they will, but it would be nice to have him as an option, possibly.
Yeah,
I don't think they would because they are high stakes games and
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I don't think they will either. To be fair,
yeah. But the other youngster to watch, and he won't be playing with us next year, but he's on our books is Abdallah.
I've done it.
Who,
Yeah.
he's
yeah,
from draft.
yeah. But I think he's the talk is he's most likely going to play college basketball for a year or two before he actually goes to an NBA team, if indeed that's what transpires.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in a scrimmage he absolutely destroyed the other players from what I
That's
read.
what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'll get on to the final topic of the night. The limited, sorry, not limited, the Pavlo Giannakopoulos tournament, the one that's going to be held in Sydney. Obviously, the first game will be a friendly in Melbourne, September 18th. This is obviously Australian time. That's a Thursday, and then the 21st and the 22nd, a Sunday and a Monday. Panathinaikos will be playing. Now, I don't know the order. It's Sydney Kings and Adelaide 36ers. So it is a Sunday, Monday. The reason is, and I just worked that out not long ago, was due to the rugby league finals, which will be very likely be playing next door in that complex with that clash. So that's the very likely the reason we're seeing a Sunday, Monday game. Um, so I went to the event that showcased in Australia, met the Panathinaikos president, met the Partizan president, both gentlemen. The Partizan guy was very funny. Um, Very funny. He looks like your typical Balkan mafia guy. But it looks like them two have an excellent friendship. Um, Kyrios Parthenopoulos and the Partizan president. Um, Now, the details are that I don't know if Gate 13 is going to come. I know for a fact that there's going to be two airplanes, from what I've been advised, coming through. So the players are coming with all their families. It will be all the players will be reporting in. All the players will be coming with their families as well, to play here. So that is a guarantee. Now, in terms of Greeks, who's if Tira Decathlon is coming or not, I don't know. It's not something that I can honestly say, because obviously it's not an easy trek, and it's not cheap either, Australia. Um, so I can't answer that because I don't have any knowledge, or that was the discussion, but he did say to me, the president, that there will be opportunities for the fans to meet and greet the players as well. I don't know in what capacity that's going to look like. Um, so, I've been, asked a few messages about the logistics and all that. I do know which hotel they're staying at in Sydney. I'm unsure of Melbourne, but I've got a fair idea as well. Um, so it will be the same sort of hotel, but I can't confirm if that's the case for Melbourne. But um, yeah, I don't know if they want fans turning up to the hotel, etc., anything like that. So it's not something that I'm gonna publicly say. Um,
Isola.
So yeah, but it will be the full team. So you're gonna expect like your Nuns, your Slukas, etc., coming here and playing. So it should be good. Should be good. I'll be going to all three games, Melbourne and Sydney. And I look forward to it. So, I think in what I'm thinking is that it's almost going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity to see the the basketball team coming here. So, you know, the full team. It's not going to be like your B grade team, like what some football teams have done in the past, where they've sent their like just their casual players, etc. It's going to be full team playing here in the spirit of the Pavlos Giannakopoulos Tournament. So it's exciting.
I'm happy to say that I bought my tickets for the Melbourne game, which is against Partizan, and we'll be there with all the merchandise and paraphernalia supporting the team as I would not think of any other way. But it's interesting that the question was asked to me, well, can we buy some merchandise in the
Yeah.
lead up to the game? Order it from Greece, of which my response was, yeah, unfortunately not. That's not available for us in
Yeah.
Australia
And that's
and or overseas.
and that's the concern. That was something I did raise with the PAOBC president. I did raise the concern of the lack of ability for anyone internationally to make a purchase. He did acknowledge it. And he did say that logistically it is a little bit more hard because of inventory. Now, in Greece, once they put something up, it does sell out. I think a lot of it is got to do with inventory, how much gets printed out, etc. And they instantly sell out in Greece. So I can understand that sort of point. He did say there would be availability to buy merchandise here, that they will be selling merchandise here. I don't know if it's going to be jerseys or anything like that. That wasn't clear, but there will be merchandise being sold here.
Good.
Yeah, I do want jerseys, but they're not available to us, which sucks. So,
I don't think they're going to bring some out.
he didn't specifically say what merchandise. He did say that there will be merchandise being sold here.
Because they're doing for partisan as well, those packs from now. You can get a hoodie,
Yeah,
scarf, whatever.
yeah. That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't bother either.
Yeah, fans are encouraged to dress in the color of the team. So if that helps you buying those packs, by all means do it. So yeah, I'll be catching up with you, Panathafan in Melbourne for that. There's a few others as well. But yeah. All right. Anyone else want to raise any final points? Anything before we wrap it up?
Just obviously we've got the Greek finals with Olympiacos coming up very soon. It is scheduled Friday, first game on the 30th of May in Oaxaca. Obviously we face them in Oaxaca on Friday, then Monday in Sef, Thursday again in Oaxaca, Sunday in Sef, and then obviously we'll see if necessary game 5. But I think you just got to try. They're going to be thinking the same thing as us, right? End the season on a positive note. I think if they lose it, Barzokas will be under really serious pressure. So just got to go fight, put it all out there, and try win.
Yeah, the Greek championship game 1 is the tickets are selling, so it's in a few days' time, game 1.
Oh, we sold out.
Yeah, 30th of the 5th, 9 p.m. local time. Um, that is game 1. So yeah, they did come out not long ago. They'll be instant sellout game 1 and game 3. Yeah, so we'll be obviously covering that in pods, anything like that as well. So yeah, it's a lot to look forward to still in the basketball world. All right, gentlemen, I think that covers everything. Nick looks absolutely exhausted as well,
Um,
struggling.
Don't go there. The Friday morning, our Euroleague, 1 a.m. Then Villa yesterday overnight.
Yeah, it's been a long day. Little one was very restless throughout the night, and then just the work day as well. So I feel your pain. I didn't even bother with Manchester. I did not even bother,
You guys are the dead rubber.
and we still managed to win it when we didn't care.
Stand it.
All right.
Can I just
Yeah.
finish up and say Arxonta's call about the basket though next year's EuroLeague champions? Great call, Arxonta. I think from your mouth to God's ears, let's fingers crossed that comes true. But there's every reason to believe that.
It'll happen.
That's all. That's all the convincing I need. Thank you, gents. It's a pleasure speaking with you all.